Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about VFX clean plate. Now, I just want to give you an idea of it, what the heck it is, not how to do it. It's not a tutorial, it's more of a like what the heck that is. And then you can dive into tutorials and you can utilize it. So why do he need something like a clean plate? Well, reality is there are super easy things to do in VFX. It does not matter whether you are talking about old analog technology or modern technology. It's super easy to add, meaning if you are seeing logos here, that's super easy to do. But if you are asking me to remove anything, for example, my hand is here and you want to wipe this puppy out while there is a screen here, yeah, good luck with that. And God help you if this was a video frame. So you have to understand, adding things, child's play. Subtracting, near impossible. And special effects works after camera work, meaning it does not matter even if you are talking about VFX. If you do not have good data coming to your camera can't do anything. For example, let's say you have to shoot this scene. You have a hallway, you have a ghost. Now you directly shot it like this. No VFX artist or CG artist could do anything. Now you can brute force them to work. They can literally recreate what's supposed to be behind, then wipe her out, then add her in, then reduce opacity so they can show the masked area. But it's gonna be garbage. So fundamentally, we do need quote unquote clean plate, meaning a plate without her, then a scene where she's acting, and then you can just reduce the opacity slider. That's how easy it would be. That's why we need, basically, we constantly need to remove things in post. Like, you would be quite surprised how many things we remove in post rather than add it. Meaning, this is the worst example, but you get that point. Like, we had to remove a lot of things. For example, wires, building restrictions, because if you are blowing up a building, there is a very good chance there's something supposed to be behind that. So in that sort of scene, you have to have a data for that. It could be difficult if you are, and if you ever noticed big buildings going boom and you're always looking up at them, that's a creative choice, and that actually makes your life easier, because again, sky is super easy to paint compared to if you are painting like a building and it's going and there is buildings behind it. That's very difficult to do. So that comes to the building restriction, wire removal, things of this nature, ghost effects, all that jazz, cloning effect, all that jazz. Now, without clean plate, you have to paint it, and sometimes that becomes necessary if you are doing something that is very extreme, or like there was a miscommunication, or some scenarios you may not get a luxury of clean plate. You have to paint it. And can it be done? Yes, it can be done. And nowadays with modern digital AI power tool, it's kind of easy. But again, compared to a clean plate, it's expensive, time consuming, and not as good. So that's why there is a need for clean plate. So what's the logic behind it? Logic is basically you separate your scene, quote unquote, into parts. First part is static part, another is dynamic layer. You can have more than one dynamic layer, that's up to you. But you will always have one static, that is the background layer, meaning this puppy. Then you have your character play out, and then you have these two layers that you put on your basically editing software. Then you can reduce the opacity, you get a ghost effect. You can do scenes on it. Basically, if you have a boom effect where his head goes boom, you can do that because there is a back scene there. So it will not look like what the heck happened in that area. You will not have alpha mask there. So it is possible. Be mindful. Understand this very carefully. Super easy to add, hyper difficult to remove. So you shoot scenes in layers. For example, if they are shooting an action scene like this, they will have one scene layer, quote unquote, or basically one shot just for actors reacting. Another where mechanical things could be happening. For example, car shutting over, car going boom, things of this nature. And one clean plate of this area. Because again, this adding easy, but here's how the heck you gonna remove this? You can't. So for that reason, before they do this scene, they will have a clean plate. Then they can just mask this out, because now there is a background layer, everything is happy. This is the whole point. It's very difficult to remove things. So you must always have a data what you're gonna put where you remove something. And this whole process of adding things, removing things, masking things is what we call compositing. Basically, if you are talking like we are in the compositing phase, that's what they are doing. They are adding all the data, they are adding all the layers. And even VFX element, generally, even if they are rendered in a 3D scene, there is a very good chance if they are adding it to basically to a movie, they will not do it in one go. They will not like, okay, there's a full frame. They will do that in layers. This also gives them creative control. For example, they have some particle effect. It looks overwhelming. You will not know it unless it's completely rendered. So you will like to, control the renders, as in like render out just particle effect, render out decal effects, render out this effect, render out that effect. When you have all that effect, then you composite it. In that point in time, you can find out, hey, I think we really should do better job at particle effect. They're like, okay, go back, render it again. Awesome. You don't have to re-render everything that did render properly. So this compositing also saves you time, also allows you feedback control. So you remove things what you don't want and reduce opacity just for ghost effect. Super easy. Logical part. Then we come to the complex puppy, that is motion control. Now, if you have a camera, there is a very good chance you have robotics. There is a very good chance you can have CNC, computer numeric control, and that's it. That's motion control. So if you can control the movement of camera, meaning in 3 dimension, how it's moving, you can do this again and again, then you have motion control system. And if you can do this properly, replicate it again and again, meaning you create a macro that you keep replaying again and again, as many times as you need to. For example, for some things you could need to do it as many times as like 5 or 6 times. In those sort of time, if you can do that, like you can have replay, you can do it again and again, then you have motion control. So all you need is camera tracks, camera robotic arm, lens control, and you can add as many things as you want, or you can remove as many things you want. Like for example, if you want to do it on cheap, you will just have robotic arm and no lens control. If you want a really big budget, you will have tracks, you will have robotic arms, then you will have camera, and you also have camera lens control. Because if you are moving in 3 dimension, that itself gives dynamic range. But if you are doing that while you are changing focal length, meaning let's say you are want to show something going far away, so you start out with let's say wide angle lens, then you slowly go into telephoto, or do the opposite, you can create a very interesting dynamic effect. On the same movement, you are moving the same amount, but you are creating a feel of it. Basically, if the object in the scene shrinks, it gives a perception that it is going far away. So if you are doing that, like basically which they were trying to do in Star Wars, you can achieve amazing effect optically. And since you have clean plate, painting things out that you don't need, for example, support structure, or like, frameworks and all that, just wires and all that, that's child's play. You have the data, you remove it out, everybody's happy. This is what we call, and when you are using motion control, at that point in time, adding multiple layers becomes common thing. Many times, you will start with base layer, then you will have actors acting. If you are dealing with water would be one of those things that they will just record one lighting reference. They will not add it. They will remove the water, basically mask it out, and then recreate it in CG. It's far easier nowadays, because water is one of those puppies that do not react the way you want, and masking water, very difficult. So that's one of the things. And if you ever wondered, like especially if you are from younger generation, you've never wondered why the heck so much hype about Star Wars. That's the core reason. When this was done, basically this Star Wars original trilogy, this is very back again. Again, I'm not gonna say which year. You should type that down. Which year do you think this happened? It was very long ago. How long ago? There was no such thing as quote unquote computer. What does that mean? That simply means when they were doing this, they literally went to shops, bought microcontrollers, sorted it, built their own system with as crude control as you can think of, and that's how this was not the era of, oh, go from this shop and buy this CNC motor driver, then buy let's say controllers from this, encoder from this. No. Most of the things they had to source and build, and they were the pioneers of it basically. So that's why these are respected on such a different level. And be mindful, nowadays we are kind of burnt from CG and good visual effects. Back in this day, people were like blown away. It's like, what the hell is this? If you ever wonder, it's like, why the heck Star Wars has such kind of, especially with their recent movies that are awful. It's like, how the heck they have this sort of aura to it? It's like, Star Wars. It's for the people when they saw it at the first originality launch, where it's like, they were blown away. Basically they had orgasm in chair. So that's why Star Wars is loved so much. Again, it's crippled now. It's almost like a zombie at this point in time. At this point in time, people should let it go. But that's the reason why it was like they did this. Like how Jurassic Park actually put motion controlled animatronics on the screen, whereas like animatronics can be this good on a big screen. People are like, whoa, same thing happened here, motion control system. So they could do VFX works that other could not even imagine. That's why. Then we come to the CGI layer, meaning sometimes your requirement could be too complex. So at that point in time, you will just recreate the whole scene. For example, this is a movie from zero, Indian movie. Again, story, that's up to you. But the movie VFX is god tier, flat out. And I'm not just saying as a saying thing. Everybody, even in Hollywood, they were like, damn, this is that good. Like from a VFX point of view, this is like shut up and take my money. That's how good it is. So they had this actor and they had to make this actor tiny. How the heck you will do that? Well, you can't. So what they did is basically created a stage where there was a sunken area, and actor acted on that sunken area. This was the primary character, this was the VFX artist. So you can see that like this actor is acting. Now why they are doing this? So they can make sure the eye line mix. Eye line is one of those things that you cannot fake, and because human eyes evolved to look at other eyes, we can always figure out, hey, that looks dead or that looks fake. So they have interaction, and interaction is one of those emotional interaction also, meaning if I'm smiling and if I'm smiling like this and somebody is here, you're like, dude, what the heck are you smiling to? it matters. Like if you ever paid attention to how Game of Thrones, they always had like tennis ball, like, and Daenerys' hands when it's reacting to dragon, it's necessary. If you do not have that proper eye line, is BS. So for that reason, they have that. And why in the ground? Otherwise, eye level should be as much as possible. And once they did this, they removed it. Now, like, then what's the point? Again, they feed this data to CGI artists. CGI artist gets it. It's like, oh, I get it, what I need to create. And CGI is not magic. This is one thing that I have seen many poor movies do it. It's like, CGI means it can solve everything. No. You have to put quality data in, then you have quality data out. For example, why the heck Top Gun looks so amazing? Because they showed, like, they actually spent money on fighter jet. They can show this footage to fighter jet, basically. It's like, this is how fighter jet moves, this is how fighter jet react, this is what it feels like, and then give this data to basically VFX artist. VFX artist is like, I got you, fam. Like, this is the lighting, this is the reference material, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. They can replicate it to amazing degree. So it's one of those things. You add motion control plates, even though you may be removing 90% of what you're capturing, it still is a valuable add-on. So that becomes a reference data, or even a base plate. Sometimes they will use it. For example, it may be just cheaper to have like a base plate where characters are acting on the background. It may be just cheaper to do it that way. So they're like, okay, add it. So you can do that. All those things is up to you. And I would urge you, watch that VFX breakdown of the movie Zero, linked down below. It was on a whole different level. Now, it's not always necessary that you move the camera in motion control. You can do it upside down. For example, if you have basically camera that is fixed like this, you can move me, basically. And this has the benefit of making eye lock, meaning I can look at the lens and you're basically going to tear your quote-unquote talent, look at the lens, and then you're going to move the thing around. This is also done in some scenarios where they need some dynamic reaction, especially with focusing on the eyes. They can do that. And they can recreate it for different characters, they can recreate it for different poses, they can do it for different boom effects. Basically, character is there, character goes boom, they can do that. And be mindful, you do not want to actually boom your character, so they may just, like, have a rag doll when they actually want to do the boom effect. So they will do motion play and then boom. So these are the CG tools. These are the 3 core reasons why you do it. Now be mindful, garbage in, garbage out. Never ever forget that. Does not matter how much you can spend on rendering farm and all that. This is another aspect. It does cost a lot of money and time. Even though if you have a lot of money, you cannot be like, hey, I'm James Cameron, I have boatload of money, here, go render it out. No, they're like, shut up, sit down, wait. It's gonna take days to render out scenes. Many of the scenes could take days. So it does take time. That's why it's not preferred. Like VFX replacement is last resort. It's like, if nothing else works, then you do it. And then also you work your ass off to provide as much quality reference to CGI team as possible. If they have quality reference, they will give you quality output. If they don't, yeah, they add. As in terms of quality, not as physically, just in terms of quality. That's why this sort of even if they are removing everything that camera is shooting, still would be a valuable, priceless, important data point for VFX artist. So this was my presentation on clean plate and what the heck the logic behind is. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.